Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are so excited you're here today. And we, of course, come with great news as the federal funding has been released finally. And also, we heard that yesterday the Senate had Appropriations Committee had also included full funding for adult education and had also put some guardrails in place to prevent administration from delaying or withholding federal funds in the future. So we're very excited about that. And as we're thinking about those wins and successes, we know it was really through the advocacy of so many in the field, as we had over 23,000 emails that were sent in. We had many local and state folks that were taking action as well. But today we know that we're talking about that state level advocacy that needs to take place because we know that so much takes place at the state level. So we need every voice there, raising their hand, raising their voice. And I cannot think of a better group of people to talk about the value of a state legislative day than our friends over at IAACE who are here to present today because they've done this so well with such excellence. So they're award-winning state association working with an award-winning state director. And we're just delighted that they're going to share kind of their tips and tricks and best practices. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Erin to introduce everybody and to get us up and running. But I want to say thank you all for making time. Thank you for your voice and thank you for your partnership. Thanks, Erin. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So I'm just going to add a bit of context between some of those slides that you saw at the beginning video and kind of why this topic is top of mind right now. So Adult Education and Family Literacy Week is coming up the third week in September, always the third week in September. So this year it's the 14th through the 20th. And we have been told by our public policy firm that this could not be better timing for reaching out to legislators. And that's legislators at all levels of government. So today, as we're thinking about that state level advocacy, really think about talking to your state legislators that week. Additionally, I love the graphic on the bouncing. So we are doing our second year of Flood the Hill during AEFL week, where we also invite you, if you have capacity, to come to Washington, D.C. and advocate with us. And you can find more information on our website about that. And I'll put that link that you see up on the slide there in the chat so you can look at it. And we do know, however, that not everybody has capacity or funding to be able to make a trip to Washington, D.C. And so we strongly encourage you, if you can't flood our U.S. Hill, consider flooding your state hill. And that is where we thought, well, who better to talk about having a Capitol Hill Day event than IAACE that has held many successful Capitol Hill or State Hill events and really has a highly successful formula for making that happen. In addition, they also have many COABE student ambassadors who are able to join them at that state capitol. I'll share some information about that ambassador training in the chat if you're interested in how can you prepare adult learners to also join you on the Hill. And of course, just a reminder to join us on social media platforms to find more information about upcoming webinars and events. We'll be doing quite a few advocacy related ones leading up to AEFL week. But I am so excited to turn it over to Executive Director of IAACE and someone I've had the pleasure of getting to know over the past almost 5 years now, Jen Wigginton.
Thanks so much, Erin. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. You know you're in the right spot. We are talking how to make an impact with a one-day advocacy event, no matter what you call it, at your state capital. I have two wonderful teammates with me today that are going to help us meet our objectives of why Adult Education Day, why collaboration is the key, and Denise is going to present a great step-by-step guide. And then we're going to go through all the templates, tools, and resources that we've prepared for you to make sure you can get started right away. So first, in chat, I want you to throw some answers in there for me. Have you felt the power of adult education here lately? Have you ever felt it? Go ahead and type me in the chat. Me. And do you want lawmakers to truly understand adult education's impact? Throw a yes in the chat. Maybe you want to throw a no. Very doubtful though, since you're here. Let me check out that chat. Oh, we got a lots of yeses, lots of absolutelys, and me's. I love it. I love your enthusiasm. Well, since you have felt the power of adult education and you want lawmakers to truly understand its impact, hosting an adult education day at your state capitol is one of the most effective ways to celebrate, to educate, and elevate the voices of adult learners. Whether you're a program leader, educator, work for your association, maybe you just consider yourself an advocate. This session is designed to give you all the tools to take action and inspire some change. This kind of event does more than just raise awareness. It really does celebrate student success stories, lifts up the ambassadors' voices, honors the powerful partnerships that fuel adult education. It's really a time to bring your community together and to strengthen relationships across all programs, across your state, and really build a united voice within your state. Through collaboration and the work of strong planning committee, let me tell you, we don't do this. This is not a one-woman show. You can create an experience that builds long-term legislative support, that engages local leaders, fosters meaningful conversations, and you can align yourself with the national COAVE Voice for Adult Education campaign. Put your stuff on Padlet and make sure you truly amplify your voice in a message that's clear across the nation. That's what happens when we celebrate, connect, and collaborate. You educate more than just lawmakers. You spark a movement. And if you can already feel that movement, go ahead and throw something in the chat. Yes, I feel it. But if you're not quite there yet, that's okay. We're going to get you there. You can make Advocacy Day an unforgettable, bold step toward progress. And let me just share a little quick tidbit about whenever it comes to collaboration, we couldn't pull it off without collaboration. Like I said, it's not a one-woman show. Whenever it comes to IAACE's history, our annual event where we started hosting it every year started in 2022. And I think we learn and grow every single year. But our collaboration with the Indiana Department of Workforce Development and Indiana Adult Education is the key. And I think you'll understand that whenever you hear more from my mentor, Marilyn Pitzulo. She's been a mentor for me for more than the 7 years that I've been with IAACE. We have a history even prior to that. So I'm going to bring Marilyn on to share some words from her perspective. Marilyn, take it away.
Hi, Jen. Hi, adult education colleagues. It's good to see all of you and hear, at least hear from all of you today. So I want to give a little bit of history here, talk a little bit about like where we were. Adult education in Indiana moved to the Department of Workforce Development from the Department of Education 15 years ago. When that occurred, there was a break in relationships. There was a break in relationship between the association and between state government and those that were overseeing adult education. Fast forward just a few years, and as a result of that rub, we found ourselves in a position where they were going to completely write adult education out of statute. Sound familiar to anything we've gone through here lately? They were going to completely write adult education out of statute and defund it in Indiana. It was at that point that we realized we needed to get ourselves together, right? We were going to have to fight this together because separate, we did not have the collaboration to do this. Many of my state director colleagues that are out there, you've heard me say this before in presentations. You know, I know that adult state staff cannot advocate, right? But you can educate. So as a state staff person, I don't advocate. I educate. I educate lawmakers and key stakeholders. And so what I can't do, my association can. And they can do the hard things that really fall into that advocacy bucket. It's critical if you're going to do this work that you have that type of a partnership. There are things that our state association cannot do that only the state can do. And so we work really hard to identify what those things are, kind of stay in our own lanes, but then also work together to make sure that we know what each other is doing. We had that we had that threat of completely losing funding, and we realized we needed third-party advocates, right? Not just even our association, but additional people to that. And we'll probably talk about this a little more when we get further down. But as a result of that, we realized we needed to honor these new third-party advocates. And that has evolved to include not just employers, but students and the legislators that we've been able to bring on. And that was really the nexus of Adult Education Day at the State House. We wanted to bring all of these folks together so that our legislators would see the support adult education has in the state of Indiana. I'm going to quickly end and give this back to Jen, but I want you to know that as a result of that collaboration, we had also taken a decrease in funding. We did eventually have a decrease in funding. As a result of Adult Education Day at the State House, though, last biennial budget, we saw a $4 million year one and an $8 million year two increase in our funding. Jen?
Now there's something to celebrate, increase in funding. And that's really what the day is about, in a sense, because we are educating. And whenever it comes to the educating, if we think of it as educating, then all of the good things can happen after the fact. Now, Denise and I did this presentation back at COAB 2025. So she has a step-by-step guide, and I'm going to throw some information in the chat while she takes you through how to plan the day. Denise, take it away.
Thank you, Jen. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Denise Esslinger. I am so lucky to be part of adult education. In fact, I've just been part of adult education programming since 2020. And for me, all I know is Adult Education Day at the State House. So to me, it's something that we do every year, and it just is a wonderful event. And I'm just glad that it brings our adult education programs across the state together. A little bit more, I'm an assistant director for one of the larger programs in the Indianapolis area. And I'm also the IAACE's advocacy chair. So I get to work on educating our legislators across the state. And then I'm also part of the 5th cohort of SAFE. So working also with our federal legislators. So I'm excited to be here today. Trying to take everything that we've learned over the past few years and put it in a guide for you where we can engage, we can inspire, and just transform everything that we do and get the word out of how wonderful adult education is and what it does for our students, our communities, and the workforce. So, next slide, please. These are just few of the resources we will have available to everyone here. Back in Dallas, when Jen and I presented, we did a little play on a playbook for Adult Education Day, so that playbook will be available to you with all the information discussed today in even more detail. And then also I'm going to go over this step-by-step guide on how to host an Adult Education Day as we look forward to saying that Adult AEFL Week is, only 7 weeks away. But there are some things that can be done in a simple way to perhaps bring your state together during that week or at another time so that we can have adult education days across the country. Next slide, please. I always think pictures are worth 1,000 words. So before I go into all the details, these are just some pictures over the last few years of Adult Education Day. And I just look at this and see how proud I am to be a part of this with our entire state and looking at how it has grown each year. Our Adult Education Day is at the state capitol building, the North Atrium to be exact. So you can see this nice view they have. It's a beautiful venue, and we're right there in the middle of a session. Our Adult Education Day is actually held in February, and so all of the representatives and senators are in session at this time, and you can just see a mix of, we have students, we have adult education leaders, we have legislators that are all in, and business partners. So this is what our event has looked like over the past few years. And then again, there is Marilyn, who is always a part and a strong collaborator of the event. Next slide, please. So, all right, step one, we need to engage everyone. That's how to get everybody excited about this day. One of my favorite parts is announcing the actual date and the save the date for this event so that everybody can start planning for it. Again, we look at how we can work together and make a plan for this. And as Jen had mentioned before, it's not a one woman, one person team. It's a lot of work and collaboration. We are really lucky to have IAACE sponsor the event, and then with DWD in partnership, we also added another sponsor last year with our Literacy Alliance Association. So it's just growing each year. We've had some great sponsors from even Burlington English and New Readers Press. So it's just nice to have a great team involved. The advocacy team of IAACE is where we start the planning with collaboration with members of DWD. So it's just wonderful to have that team. And I'll just a little personal. I like to have a lot of control, and it's good to just give that to members of the team and just know that they can help you along the way, because that's what makes the event so successful and special. Then we're looking at, when you have that team, what are the roles? What are the logistics, communications? DWD does wonderful with their communications team, getting the word out. We'll have visuals showing pictures a little bit later. One thing that's wonderful, one of our members of our team is really strong in her region. She brings in, helps us with keynote speakers, strong legislators that have already been a part of the adult education programs and visiting. So it's great to have that, the outreach and what IAACE can do, as well as student support, bringing in that student ambassadors that we have. Students are always in attendance in the day because that's who we want to hear from. It's our students. They're the faces of adult education. We want to make them part of the team too. And then of course with media relations, how can we get the word out and get that media coverage? So there we are. You have your team and plans together. And the next step is to set the date and reserve the spot. We always have held this at our state capitol building, which you kind of can see in the back. This year our next event will be in January. I know we look at AEFL week, which we work with and do together and get with our governor's proclamation as we move forward. But we also have found that in that end of January, February time is when the legislators are in session, and just has a great impact to have at that date. So that's where we are, and you can set the date that works for your state. But again, AEFL week is coming up soon. Maybe that's a great date for your state to hold an event like this. We look, like I said, reserve your space, and can you be at the Capitol, at your state capitol? Where can you put that event there? And then as you go into the next step is your goals. What are your goals? And I feel like our team has many goals, but they can be under 3 areas. And one is our advocacy goal. And as we say, we're advocating, but we're educating. And I always like to remember that coming from Marilyn, as we want to just educate all the things that adult education does. So we look at here and we just want to increase the awareness. Sometimes it's a budget session. So we're looking at that increased funding, which has happened a few years ago, as Marilyn mentioned. This year, I could say is not a budget session, but everything has been changing this year. It's all new, but we're looking at just educating our legislators. And it's just so neat to have this event right there where you invite your legislators in, they stop by, they become a part of it, they talk with the students, the instructors, the directors. It's just a great event to bring everybody together in a great location.
Denise, can I add something really quickly?
Of course.
So, no, it's not a budget year, but as a result of Adult Education Day at the State House, and who's in your State House? It's not just your legislators, it's also agency heads from different units. And I would say, as a part of that, knowing about adult education, we were able to get additional funding through our Family Social Services Administration to do a child development associate credentialing program and push those funds out to our adult educators. And part of the reason for that is because of knowing about adult education, not just the legislators, but the other state agencies as well.
Thank you, Marilyn. So as we educate, we also want to just make everyone aware. And that's where, when you're looking at what adult education can do, is showcase those student success stories. They are the reason we exist, is our students and their success stories that they share, as well as looking at our workforce readiness. Marilyn mentioned too, and we'll talk a little bit more, but we involve our business partnerships in this event, because with them and working with our different partnerships across the state, we're increasing the workforce and helping their businesses thrive with our students. And then engagement, we just want to continue to build relationships, as Marilyn said, with state agencies, with our legislators, with our community. That's what our day is for, is just to build those relationships. And then the next part is to plan the agenda and the program. And that, for us, our event lasts about an hour, because we look at what works best for everyone and how long to keep everyone engaged. So when we look at how we plan the day, we always have our nice welcoming part. Kick it off, we have a great keynote speaker. Past few years, it has been a legislator who has been that keynote there. We also then highlight student successes. We highlight our business partners, and then we might have some other speakers that come in. And then we always just share the voices of adult education. So when we look at that and plan your day, just keeping it flowing well to keep everybody engaged. Just a side note, sometimes those plans don't work and you have to be ready to pivot. And I think that goes very well with how you organize it this year. Because of different legislators being in sessions, our event didn't quite go in the order that we had expected, but in an all end, it turned out perfectly. I call that because everybody was still there. So just as you know, you have an agenda and a program, but a little side note, be able to change if needed. Mm-hmm.
Denise, I just want to make sure that whenever somebody you say when you say an hour, I want to make sure there's nobody out there going, "Oh my gosh, that seems so short." This is another part where our collaborating partner comes in to assist with making the day more impactful, because they will also hold directors meetings in the afternoon and PDF meetings in the afternoon, so that whenever programs are coming from across the state for this day, that their investment in time is not just the hour. Marilyn, do you want to add some stuff?
Yeah, I was going to say too, like the program itself is an hour, but we generally have time ahead of time to kind of like meet and greet and mingle. And then afterwards, because we educate, right? We have the opportunity for our students to go on a tour of the State House. And so we do make this like, it is longer than the actual 1 hour event itself.
Mm-hmm. And then as we are looking at too, when you hear part of that programming does include those student voices and the student speakers. And then, as we said, the welcoming environment and mentioned the meet and greet at the beginning, we offer refreshments for our part there. So we'll have coffee and water, and one of our programs brings their ever famous cookies. And actually, it's one of the highlights we hear from not only those who are in attendance from our programs, but from the legislators as well, and with our partners and community partners. There's time there. A lot of the pictures you saw too are just connections that our different programs make with the different partners that we have. So it's a wonderful time to just come in. As you said, we're there. The program may start at a certain time, but then all those meet and greets start at the beginning, just welcoming everybody in. And it's also a great time for the students to just really share their voices too, in one-on-one and small group conversations that we can have. So it's a great time, and it's something you want to do as you're engaging everyone, just to make them feel welcome for the program that you have planned. Next slide, please. Oh, We'll go back. And here are just some examples of what we've done over the past few years when we look at planning the day. And then you look at, we want to engage everyone. And then the next part is to inspire. And we look here, these are the different invitations that we send out to our partners and to our legislators. We like to always put have a theme for the day. The one in the middle where we had the day have right around Valentine's Day. So we said that Adult Education Day was the heart of Indiana in adult education with the little heart. So we like to add the little numbers and our successes that you see here. The one this past year of 2025, we had the landscape of Indianapolis, and then we used Adult Education Works, and we had little bookmarks that just showed the success of what adult education can do, even beyond your HSC or your GED classes, but that workforce development as well. And these were things that, we look at something that you want to give that can be used and impactful. Bookmarks are great because they're almost like a business card. They were stuck in people's pockets and then brought back out, and it was a reminder that this is a great day to attend. So these are just some of the things we do in the planning that is before the event. Yes. So there's our pictures. The next slide, please. So, and then here is what we have. And this is another one of my favorite parts. We get to celebrate the success of Indiana adult education for everyone to see. The Department of Workforce Development, DWD, works to put these posters together, and these are on display during the event. And you can see that we look at the national leaders that we have, and this is what we talk about at the impact as we're educating our partners, whether they be legislators or workforce and communities, and know what we do here and the impact we hold across the entire state. It's something we're really proud to share because that, again, is our success, and that's what we want to share with others. Marilyn?
Yeah, and I would just say your state, no matter what state you are, you have some metric that you're proud of, some way that you're contributing to the workforce development system that's bringing benefit to your state. This doesn't have to be a number. Maybe it is the number of students that you've served. Maybe you want to, promote that you're serving 5, 10, 15,000 students each year across your state. It can be the metrics can be whatever it is that you think resonates, that you do well, and that resonates with the audience that you're trying to draw into your event.
Thank you. Okay. Jen, we'll go ahead to the next step. So we've engaged, and now we're going to inspire. And as you can see, how we are preparing for the event, which is what we work with our advocacy team and all of those members who are part of our team to plan, inviting those. As you can see, the invitations are created. We do have a great connection. One of the adult education directors in Indiana is also a representative. So we get to make that connection to hand deliver the invitations to all of the legislators at the State House, along with a little marketing or trinket item that we can have, that something that can be on their desk just to remind them that that's the day to come on over to the area and be a part of the event as we're preparing for that. Also, when you think of preparing, is just having lots of plans, what it could look like, how you can personalize it. And then one thing when you're looking at inviting to is have your students invite those legislators that might be part of your region or those community members, because the students are the reason, our why. They are our why. And have them invite and bring those people there. It's just a nice added touch. And as we think about our students, we look at our success stories. I won't go too much detail. We'll send some more information about that, but our success stories, we always have the ability to hold an essay contest. Jen, do you want to talk a little bit about the essay contest just briefly, and then we'll send more information? Mm-hmm.
Sure. So when we started this day back in 2022, looking to get those success stories brought in, an essay contest is how we decided to go about it. It has started from wanting to get legislators to be the judges. And at first we weren't successful with that, but this past year we did have 2 legislators that were actual judges for the contest as well. But you're thinking essay contest, if I'm going to try to pull this off in AEFL week, I can't possibly hold an essay contest in this short amount of time. You don't have to. If you already have the measures of including those success stories, then utilize that. But whenever it comes to the essay contest that we do, we have a whole web page on it, and it is linked on our adult education playbook page where you can get more information about it. Or of course, if you really want to use that as an impact tool, then reach out to me and I'll provide you with all the information you need.
Thanks, Jen. And as she said, our success stories don't have to be an essay contest. We have success in our programs every day. And then when you're looking at those stories, then bringing in your speakers and to have student speakers, every time I hear the speakers, I get emotional and I get goosebumps and usually teary-eyed. And it's just a wonderful way to bring the students into the event. And what a great way. We just had a lot of programs just had graduation. There's some speakers right there because those graduation stories are inspirational. They bring everyone together with their purpose. So when you're looking at where do I start to get the success of the speakers, if you're not sure, just go right back to where graduation was recently and look at those speakers who already got up in front and shared their inspirational stories. Other things that you'll want to have, like as we said, a keynote speaker. We also have, as I said, our director that is a representative. She speaks each year. And then one of our great supporters is Senator Bray. And actually, a couple of years ago, he was walking by and said, "Can I speak too?" And we said yes. And we just had him walk up on stage because he just talked about his support of adult education. So just different things, different ways that you can inspire. We also talked about too, our workforce education initiative, our WI partners, which we have are those local businesses where there's a partnership between a program and the business to upskill employees, help them earn their HSE, working and training certification. So we invite our partners to come to the event as well, and also take a moment to highlight and how important and impactful they are. And we have had different partners throughout the years come and speak too about the impact of adult education in their business. That's great. And when we look at our purpose, keep your purpose in mind. What is your why? Why are you here? And as we all say, we're here to educate. We're here to, look for and let everyone know who we are. Someone always said, adult education is a hidden gem. It's a hidden gem that even 5 years ago, I didn't know about. And now it's just a part of my daily life. So just giving that purpose of what we can do and building that community, building your community with partnerships with other organizations. And I love Adult Education Day too, because it brings the entire state together. We have, there is that time where we do a lot of virtual meetings and Zooms, and that's the way it is to connect, but to be together in person is just a great way to continue to build that community. And finally, when you look at the step of inspiring, want to publicize the event, use your social media. COABE is wonderful that we have X and Instagram and Facebook, just any way you can publicize the event, get the word out there, let people know where you're going to be, and that it's a great thing to attend. If you have some connections with local media, try to get your media involved as well. And then Jen is great, who does this for our association. She just creates that digital campaign to get that started and get the word out. So we're here to inspire everyone and then get everybody there to make a wonderful day. Okay. Next slide, please. There's one of our student speakers. Some of my favorite things. Jen?
These are some of the student essay winners, but I will also say we have used our adult learner of the year as a speaker before. So utilizing whatever you have existing in your state would be what I would suggest you go off of. These individuals, especially Keith, the one that's pictured on the far left, even volunteered for us afterwards, hosting a podcast about the journey of the adult learner and sharing adult learner story. So collaboration, the relationships, it's just so key to keep building those and keep those strong by including them in the day. And I will also throw in that whenever it comes to the student ambassadors, Wayne Township is probably the biggest student ambassador program in our state. consistently brings a bunch of students. I can't even remember how many it was last year, but I'm thinking it was pretty close to 100. So always a good representation from the ambassadors and all students across the state. And I
And
think that's what the next picture is. There we go.
yeah,
I knew there was a part we were putting that
yeah.
in, Denise.
Yeah, and this photo is a reminder, have your cameras ready the entire time of the event, video it, make these pictures, because this is what you can share afterwards. There's so many great things that happen in a moment, and you just want to make sure that you're there, that are capturing those photos and those voices, of course, with everyone's permission to highlight this event, not only before, but after. Marilyn?
Yeah, and this is where your agency partnership can come in, and this is where our communication team has come in the past. They did not do this last year, but the year before, we had backdrops set up. We were recording interviews. We were documenting a lot that we have since used in our media work around adult education moving forward. So it's just a great opportunity to pull a lot of information, a lot of resources that you can use in the continuing year.
I see that question there about provide transportation. I know with Wayne, they do bring the students transportation wise to the event. In my program, we're also located close to Indianapolis, so it is a shorter distance. My director is planning to get her license authorization to grab that bus and drive there. So that is dependent on the different programs there. So hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I would say that every program has done it differently. Of course, the ones that are local bring school buses, as you can see in one of the photos in the corner. But Wagler is in Lyons County, and I know they've just rent a van. And then there's some down in Monroe County that have done the same. Marilyn?
I was just going to say, and so not for students, but for program directors and staff. This is the reason why the second half of the day we host a professional development event for the directors and for what we call our professional development facilitators, so that that is then covered as far as their travel to the State House.
Okay. And here's more pictures. These are speakers that we had over the past few years. We've also been very blessed to have the commissioner of the Department of Workforce Development speak the last 2 years. Wow, I mean, just to talk with him, not only listen to him on stage, but talk to him one-on-one. It's just a great inspiration that we have there. And these are different keynote speakers, and you can see Senator Bray, who's been there the past couple of years too. And then over on the right is our Representative Michelle Davis, who is also director of one of the programs. So it's great to have this support and just to be in the presence of all those who are supportive of our programming. Next slide. And then we look at business partnerships, as we've shared earlier. Indiana is really strong with the workforce education initiative. So you can see the different partners who we highlight and each year and invite to be a part of the programs. It's a great time, and it just shows the impact we have in not just our communities and our partnerships, but across the state. Thank you. Next slide. So the day is done. You've done all the planning, you've inspired, you've engaged, and now you get to that point where you take a deep breath and look back and say, okay, how did it go? What can I do? And how can I make these connections beyond just that day? The first thing about actionable takeaways, what can be done? What can our attendees do? What can the programs do? How do we take the next step afterwards? And one thing we like to say is, send those thank you notes out to those who are in attendance. If it's someone from your region, reach out to them. Ask your different programs to make that personable thank you to those who are in attendance, whether it is a representative, a senator, a business partner, a community alliance, anything that you can do. your students are best way to that student ambassador of putting those thank yous out as well. And then offering resources. How can we take the information we shared and go even further? We have impact sheets that have been created by Department of Workforce Development for the state of Indiana. I know a lot of programs also create their own impact sheets too. What does adult education funding and what do we do in that community, and showing those measurable outcomes and giving that to those who either represent you or your program. So just bringing that out. We have those resources available to our people that we can do that. And then the connections beyond the event. Don't just take the event, tell everybody thank you, and move on. There's more to it as well. This year, we had over 30 legislators in attendance, which was our biggest number yet. And as we look, one of our approaches in our advocacy committee is AEFL week is kind of that midway point for us when we hold our adult education day. So we know that we want to bring that event back to the forefront of their minds with personal thank yous, and then doing that during the week. So that's one thing that we talked about back in February after the event. But what can we do beyond Adult Education Day that you hold, whether it's in September for AEFL week, and what can be done beyond? And when you look at measuring success, we always look at the impacts, but how many people attended? This year we had over 300. That was bigger than the year before and the year prior. So it's growing each year. More legislators are taking part in the event, connecting with the students, connecting with our business partners, and connecting with our programs. And then the media coverage too. What did you get? How did it get in larger too? And then one of the other things too is those sponsorships. Each year we're adding more sponsors to the program to have it grow too, and how you can measure some of those successes and the outcomes you have. And of course, always gather feedback and follow up. What went well, celebrate your successes. You look at the event, and honestly, after each one, it's just been a great celebration, and it was a great time. And we know that it did our purpose. We educated, we brought those faces of adult education to the forefront. So you look at those successes too, and then it's okay to look at, I believe, I know Sharon mentioned it before and I wrote it down. What can you do to be a little bit better? The grows. What are the glows and the grows, and how you can do that too. So it's something that we do as an advocacy committee afterwards, and it's just a great, and IAAC does as well. So it's hard to believe, but we really do. It's not hard to believe. We transform people's lives, and you get to celebrate when everybody comes together for a wonderful event such as Adult Education Day. Jen?
Denise, I think you should mention that whenever we were talking about one of the other days that was going on at the Capitol, where they were trying to schedule events, remember that? You were telling me that somebody had told you that
Yes.
about that. Yeah, you remember now. Go ahead.
So it happens to have a lot of state days days at the State House happening at the event. And we received compliments from others that how engaging our day and inspiring ours was, because the other events were just kind of like you go to table. There wasn't really interaction. It wasn't the success. It wasn't the camaraderie. It just wasn't showing that inspiration. So we've gotten a lot of compliments for how our state adult education day at the state, how it runs compared to other days that are at that same time. There seems to be a lot. So it's nice to hear that you're making an impact, and people look at what we're doing and said it was organized, it was wonderful, and I came away feeling inspired. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So now that you are inspired and you have all the information you need to build your day, we have some tools and resources and some templates. Everything what you need is in the playbook. Oops, wrong thing. Let me go back. So the Adult Education Day playbook has all the links. That QR code will scan and go to that page. It has the Google Drive folder of resources, thrown a lot of stuff in there that we have utilized over the past years, so you can see samples. I've also included COAB's State Advocacy Toolkit and their Flood the Hill stuff for AEFL week. What I will say in correlation to how we plan and our correlation to AEFL week, since we have our event in February, what we use AEFL week for us is to announce everything. We will announce our essay contest. We will announce our business recognition. We make all the information available during that week as a celebration of Adult Education Week and preparation for Adult Education Day. We make our formal announcement of Adult Education Day, which is going to be in January in 2026. So that's how we correlate the two. And let me just see if I can change this a tad bit. Do you guys now see my screen of the website now? Is that good? Let me double it. Yep. Okay. So this is the web page, our presentation. You don't have to wait till COABE sends it to you. You can download it right here. This there is the simple adult education steps. So if you want to host an adult education day, this gives you a nice step of which outline to want. And then I also went ahead and threw in, so you want to do an AEFL week? Well, here's a quick step by guide. You got to get started next week. But here's the step-by-steps of what you might need to do in regards to having it for AEFL week. Our website, like I said, shows all of the under adult advocacy. It shows the adult education day, the business partners, the essay contest, student success stories. Everything is out there if you want to move ahead or take a look at that as well. And I will open it up for questions as I move towards the next thing, which is
Yep.
the
Jen,
governor's proclamation.
and I just saw something I wanted to mention. COABE champions. We've had Senator Todd Young, who has received the COABE Champion Award, and we have also put that in part of our day too. So any of the COABE champions that we've had, we make that part of our day and recognition as well. So
Okay, Nettie, I will definitely take care of making sure that something, the drive access, that you can access that. The governor's proclamation, we always request one for AEFL week. Of course, we use it at AEFL week, and it goes to as many programs as we can during that time frame. It's usually within the surrounding area as far as the ones that can get it, drive it to each other. But we will always have that on display at our adult education week and pictures as well. So I encourage you to get started on your proclamation if you haven't already. You can find the links to do that by a simple Google search for your state. This is just kind of a little sample of one of the signs that's up. Our very first adult education day, we managed to take a picture of a lot of those that were in attendance. And then we have a little link to some pictures if you like to see pictures and see a little bit more information. And then there's the link for the adult education playbook. Everything's linked there. And let me check chat. Any questions, any thought processes on when you think you could pull it off? I'd love to hear who's ready. Put it in chat. Are you ready to hold your first adult education day? Go ahead. Come on. Don't be shy. Commit to it.
Or do you already do something, but you need to take it to the next level?
There we go. There we go. So close. I'm ready. Yeah, okay. Oh, someone else is ready. And you have lots of information. Great. Lindsay's ready to start. Eunice is ready to start. Deborah, she says, let's do it. She's in. Sarah's, yep. All right. If there's any resources that are not in that Google Drive folder that we have mentioned that you want to see, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can, I'll throw my email in the chat, and Denise, I would invite you to do the same. Marilyn as well, just so that you can reach out to us if you like for more information. And we will answer any questions. I'll throw more information in the chat.
And state directors and state staff, I put my email address in there. Reach out if you have questions on how we manage this from the state side with all of our regulations and everything. Happy to walk you through that.
Fabulous. Well, my goodness. I sat here and thought to myself, did I understand that correctly, Jen? Did you say there was 50 legislators that joined you for one of the events? Amazing. So right there, that shows the work that went into getting them there. It shows the partnerships. It shows just the quality of the work that you're doing. So I just want to commend you both. I see, Marilyn, you turned your camera on as well. I'm sure you played a role in that too. So I'll give you a minute.
Yeah. So the interesting thing, the way our rotunda is set up, we're on the ground floor, but the legislative offices and their chambers and everything are up on a second floor. And one of the greatest things for me to watch is even those that don't come downstairs and actively participate, we have a gallery and they're watching. And so that's one thing that I would say. Don't count your success just in the number that, like, you see right there. The state house, generally, most of them are set up like this. And you're going to see the people that walk by. They're going to stop. They're going to see. They're going to pay attention. So it is even more than just the 50.
I would say when we first started, I remember a conversation when we were after the fact of like how many were there and did we do all the numbers? And it was like, oh, what maybe it wasn't enough. But then we started hearing about different stories. But the the collaboration with our memberships and those partnerships and those relationships that they have with legislators, the work that they've been doing has just consistently gotten stronger and stronger. And therefore, our members are the ones that are saying, hey, we should invite so and so. And they take care of that. Our members are actively engaged in inviting the legislators that they have relationships with, asking them to speak, asking them to be a part of the day. So it really is a true collaborative effort. I can't
And
say
then
that
meeting with them
enough.
afterwards. That's the big thing that I saw. That was a new thing this year. So our local program directors actually set up appointments with those legislators following the presentation.
And
And one more thing I wanted to add too. We were talking about outcomes and numbers, which is wonderful. And then Marilyn mentioned those that, are just watching. Another outcome, I think that it's not something on paper. The first time Adult Education Day I was invited to it, I actually wasn't sure what I was even going to. I was asked to come and I said, I don't even know what we're doing. And you know what? Other people kind of felt the same way. I was embarrassed to mention and to admit that, but I'm not anymore. And now it's different because as we see as the state of a whole, now the purpose is there. So that's another great, growth and a takeaway. It's not something you can put a number to, but just the fact that the event is something that now everybody knows and understands, and that's what makes it such a great success.
Denise, I love that because I do still look back to the first legislative day I went to, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I remember that 2016. I remember it so well, and I remember being overwhelmed and getting lost and all the things, right? And I think all of, folks here with your first or second time, that's how it feels. And so to try to plan something as you're kind of wading through those feelings, wading through the unknown. But that's why it's so great that you all have put together this playbook and taken the time to share what you've learned. And I know as we're coming up with just 4 more minutes here, I want to make a couple comments. One is COAB is here every step of the way to help you, but you also have an award-winning state association and an award-winning executive director of that state association as well. This is part of the beauty of Sally, the State Association Leadership Institute. Additionally, we have the State Advocate Fellowship, which is also an award-winning initiative. And this is where state advocates get together from every state and talk about what they're doing in their state. So there are multiple different communities of practice that COAB has put in place to support you in these efforts. I cannot stress enough how important it is that each state try to hold a legislative day, whether it's during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week or at another time. So maybe you do just what Jen was saying. Maybe Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week is where you just message out that you're going to be doing this at another time, and you use that momentum and give yourself a little bit of time to do this with excellence a little bit later. That's good too. There are still ways your state association can really use the momentum of that week and still amplify adult education, but give yourself a little bit of time to do it well. So I just want to mention that. But every state, I hope, across this good nation will take the time to put together an advocacy day. We know there's talk about the funding being pushed to the states. Even more important that we're there talking to governors, lieutenant governors, state legislators, so that if that does happen, we're prepared. We've had the relationships. We're a known entity on their hill. So I can't thank you enough, everybody who's come here today and made the time to participate in this training, um, to take the time for that. Finally, before we end, I want to give a shout out to Erin Vobornik, who does such a great job leading both the State Advocate Fellowship, the State Association Leadership Institute. Anybody who has worked with her knows she just leads with excellence and puts her heart into everything that she does. And she actually herself is a former State Advocate Fellow who joined us the very first cohort when we were kind of learning as we were going. And she stuck with it the whole time. She launched the Advocast, which is a popular podcast that we have, which lifts up advocacy. And I also see that Sarah Higiki is on here as well, and she is one of the first State Advocate Fellows who also helped to launch that podcast too. So I just say that because I want to thank the folks who need to be thanked and who've done so much work for many years in some cases. Jen, before we go, is there any last words you'd like to share?
Honestly, I would just share that you can do it. It doesn't matter when you choose to do it. If you do choose to do it in AEFL week, if you choose to do it during session, there is a community across the nation, not just in Indiana, that is willing to help. So just pull the plan book out and gather the team and get started.
Fantastic. I see a question here before we go. Do you know which states are doing this? I'd love to contact them and even attend if they are nearby. And I think this is one of our friends from Nebraska. We were just visiting with in the good state of Nebraska, which is great. So that's a great question. That is one of the things we're going to do here at COAB is find out which states are doing that. Some have already told us, some are still planning it, and some are thinking about how to do it well in the future. But we'll definitely get that list together. One more thing I wanted to share that we didn't mention on this webinar, but I think it's important to do so. You know, when we were looking at the potential funding being withheld, and then it was withheld and all that, COAB worked with the state directors of adult education to write individual customized letters to each state governor, each state representative, and then also to the senators. So that's a ton of work that COE put in with working with NASDA on this, because we really thought that was important. Then we saw governors take action, right? Contact the Trump administration and say release the funding. But the same was true that we also were meeting with legislators all across the country in our Invest in the Midwest, really trying to loosen the purse strings there too. So I just really want to encourage you that advocacy works and you can do it. You can do it, and we're here to help you every step of the way. So thank you, Jen. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, fabulous partners here who've joined us online. We really appreciate you. Let us know if you're going to do an advocacy day, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.